Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Matthew Mills on the line, and he is CEO of MedX Inc. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh man, so I'm excited to get into the MedX Inc. Story and mission, and also nature side. So just what a phenomenal story! And as I was researching and doing my homework for this interview, I was looking online, and man, you have a lot of press, a lot of media. You've been in these businesses for a long time, and you've got a lot of good recognition. So I'm excited to go into really the story and how all of this came about, and really do a deep dive there. But just to get us started, we'll start this episode like we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So Matthew, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Matthew, what mission matters to you?
Well, we started out this project as a group of successful entrepreneurs and businessmen and physicians, and it goes on and on. It's mathematics. There's a whole bunch of things. And a very successful group of people came together to do something that makes a difference in the world, not just focus on career, not just focus on, hey, making investors money, but really focusing on making a difference in, our kind of our theme is one neighborhood, one community, one city, one county at a time. And it's working. We're actually getting that opportunity. We're building the fastest pace e-commerce business that we ever had. It's growing month out over month. Wow. Selling our products to the consumers now, which really wasn't going in that direction. Our nature side division was really focused on professional pest control applicators and giving them tools that gave them less exposure, and that was our start to it. And then it's blossomed into now going into the worldwide stage. We started here in the US, and we believe right now, I don't have numbers to back this up, but we believe our nature side division, the products that are being sold to distribution that end up in the end user professional applicator's hand, we believe that nature side is the fastest growing natural product for professional pest control in the United States. And with the relationships I'm tying together right now abroad, it will be the fastest paced growing natural product in professional pest control worldwide very soon.
Man, it's an absolutely amazing story. And I want to, before we get into the products, the development, and, kind of some of the things you have coming up next, let's get into how did all this begin? What was the idea? How did all this get started?
Well, I was part of another company. It was a .com in the .com boom. I started that company in 1999. I was just an executive. I got recruited by a CEO, and he had a really talented CFO. And I got chosen to be the communicator because both the CEO and CFO, one was Russian and one was from Malaysia. And they're brilliant guys. I mean, really good, brilliant, very brilliant, but their communication skills weren't like mine. I can communicate very well. So I was kind of chosen for the spot, and it just grew to a $200 million revenue stream. The company went public, made investors, quite a bit of money. By the time the company was public and I was in my position, I was the, chief operating officer, investor relations director, and I sat on the board. And it was a really robust career. We made great money, great strides. Obviously taking a company public was a pretty decent accomplishment. But then I kind of retired a little bit. I sat back. My kids were young at the time. This is back in 2007, 2008 is when the company went public. And I kind of retired, spent time with my kids. They were 10, 11 years old. It was perfect for me to spend time with them. Boating, going with my friends, play golf, other retired friends, but it got boring very quickly. And two guys that sit on my board right now, one of them is Dr. David Toomey, the other one is Dr. Alan Kurtz. And they looked at me and said, hey, you can't, we're here working 70-hour work weeks. And we get to golf with you once in a while, but what are you going to do? Because you got something that we need. And it was just more about my marketing focus, my
Mm-hmm.
enthusiasm. They really liked that. And so they
Mm-hmm.
wrote checks and said, let's open an office. Let's structure, a capital raise, and
Yeah.
let's sew in what you do with what we do and
Mm-hmm.
create something great. And we had a couple of things that were already on, my plate.
Yeah.
One was this product Thermalade, and the other obviously was Nature Side. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just in the mix of being approached by an LA County fireman. He is personnel for the fire department. Was having a lot of issues with rattlesnakes
Mm.
in the Los Angeles County area for Calabasas and Malibu. Some of these really giant homes, soccer mom would come home, and there'd be a rattlesnake on their front porch.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's how that all evolved. It evolved into, hey, we need to try and do a snake abatement program,
Mm-hmm.
for these communities. And these are all gated communities,
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar homes. Some are, 30 and 40 million that are,
Mm-hmm.
sitting next to the beach. Sure enough, we developed enough action that we built a service route. And this is why I was saying to you, I'm still
Yeah.
holding a license. We still have a service route, and it's all snake abatement. And a bunch of products got created out of that. And
Wow.
here we are about 6 years later, and we're growing revenue. We've got one product that's really doing well, and another
Yeah.
product that's coming up behind it, and even another product line coming up behind that.
So a lot of entrepreneurs, executives out there, experts, I mean, people that are, maybe not as far along in their career as you are in that entrepreneurial journey, especially we're recording this just for context for everybody watching. We're recording this in December of 2021, heading into 2022. And this has been, the last year and a half, maybe really a lot of people, pivoting and different things and trying to figure out either how to survive or then thrive as an entrepreneur, or maybe they're displaced from their, their previous employer. Like, what kind of advice would you give to those entrepreneurs out there that are maybe earlier in their career and, trying to figure it out, like with obviously the benefit of hindsight and you being with your experience now?
Well, and you hear this from a lot of very successful people, and
Yeah.
I follow the same thing. I have mentors as well.
Mm.
Some of them are pretty famous, and we all know them. We all watch their videos.
Yeah.
Be ready to fail, and be ready to pivot. I mean, you have to recognize that in
Mm.
order to be successful, you're going to have some failures. I've had several. I'm sure I'll have several more along the way.
Yeah.
We've had an up and down road with this company in the first 3 or 4 years of
Mm.
growing this business. Lots of little trouble, lots of little nuances.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, with the pandemic came in, that really hurt a lot of people and shut down a lot of dreams
Yeah.
and kind of focused on, hey, you can't do this right now. Where our business actually thrived.
Mm-hmm.
Essential supply and essential businesses is what we supply for both our Nature Side and our Thermalate division. And
Yeah.
both of those were up by 20% year over year. We're coming up on the end of the year right now, and we lost one client due to COVID that was
Mm.
$250,000 worth of revenue. If that would have been here, we would have been 30% up this year.
Mm.
But we're waiting to see the last few days of e-commerce, because our
Mhm.
e-commerce is booming right now.
Mm. No, well said, and that be ready to pivot and be ready to fail and all those things you said. It's so much easier said than done, and I get it. For some of the people watching this that are like, "Oh yeah, easy for you guys to say, or easy for this." But as we were doing the warm up, and I'm telling Matthew, I'm like, "Man, I'm excited, and I'm just excited about it, the growth and everything that great that's happened at Nature Side." But I'm like, "Man, I'm like 20 businesses in till I found one that really worked, and and I hit my groove." But that's many years later. So for the entrepreneurs that are going through it right now out there watching this, hey, just letting you know, me and Matthew, like we understand your pain, and just keep on pressing on, like just keep on
Yep.
going. There is another side as long as you don't quit and you just keep on going, and you'll figure it out. So I had to throw that out there, Matthew, because I know sometimes you see two guys talking and you're like, oh, they got things figured out. No, like there's some success there, but you also have to think about like the pain and the other parts of the entrepreneurship and just keep on going. So anyway, thank you for your insight on that, Matthew.
Yeah, it's not even a thought anymore.
Yeah.
We've had some things like in 2016. We were the second company to use the Jobs Act of 2012 from the
Mm.
Obama administration era, which was a very bipartisan kind of bill that went into law. And we are the second company to actually get the qualification from the SEC to go out and use Regulation A+ crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, on top of the world. We're the second one to get out there, and it was really positive and successful, and things were moving along. We're raising capital left and right, crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Then suddenly, we because the rules were brand new, they weren't clear on filing times, and when we got qualified to when we actually started, raising capital, it was the end of 2015. And we'd actually didn't start raising capital till 2016. So we thought our date of filing started in the 16. So we following year, but we made a mistake. The SEC suspended us, and they wanted to try and bar us completely, like suspend us forever for one missed filing. We corrected the problem in 11 days. It took us about 6 months and drained all of our bank accounts out. And I'm not kidding. We were left with, it'll cost us $500,000 to go through the process. We beat the SEC in their own courts in DC with their own AL judge. The AL judge just looked at it and was like, after 2 sessions, they're like, why are you guys picking on these guys so much? They had a late filing. You don't suspend a company for a late filing. Dismiss the case. We got back on it. And, here we are. That was in 2016. It almost took us out. It was so close to taking us out. So, you gotta be, I called in all the favors. Once we got through that, I called in all the favors, called all my big investors, filled them in. They were very happy that we got through it. And what's next? And, then we just started funding again and getting all of these things together. And now, again, Nature Side is really turning into a big deal. And so is our Thermalate product, quite frankly. Got a lot of stuff going on both of those divisions with Malibu brands coming up behind it.
Let's start getting into some of these products. So where do you want to begin with? Nature Side? Which one do you want to begin with? Because I love bringing products on here.
Well, Nature Side, that's since we've already kind of started there, I think that's where we start. Nature Side obviously started as a snake abatement program, and we were just developing one product that would, deter snakes. Did a lot of research, finding out that the military was using cinnamon for snakes in Guam before they moved those big containers onto ships, because they're moving into Hawaii and there's no snakes in Hawaii. So they're very careful of that. So the natural aspect that they used was cinnamon oil. And then there's been for years and years and years, there's been stories about cedar and cedar chips on the floors of restaurants and sawdust on the floor of restaurants, because it deters all types of insects as well as rodents. And so we took that mindset and we just kept creating and creating and creating, and we kept failing and failing and failing. Wow. And finally, there was this technique we used for blending that just made the products just better. And I can't tell you what that technique is, because it's the proprietary nature of our product. But there's a technique we used and we applied it, and it just made the product blend and bond with water. Like, it's oil and water don't mix, but we found a perfect solution. And because of this technique we used, it bonds with water really good and goes through your apparatuses really good. And it was working not only on snakes, but we were finding, our customer, our small little free beta customer, base was like 40 homes, and they all had snake problems. They all had snake calls. They've all had a rattlesnake. And, obviously I kind of told you that story when Soccer Mom pulls up and there's a rattlesnake and the fire department shows up. They come out with the big, string line, they pull it out onto the lawn, and then they chop the head off. And it happens usually right in front of everybody. And it was not a scene that Soccer Mom likes. So, that was kind of like, oh, okay, we've got to create something that deters this. So we started treating these homes, and all the owners came in almost immediately said the same thing to us. Like, everything's dead. We don't have any ants anymore. We don't have any fleas. There's no ticks. We noticed that, the slugs and snails have disappeared out of our ivy areas. We've just noticed there's a huge difference, not just snake abatement, but the product works great on everything. So, that was it right there. That was the bell that went off that said, okay, we got to really start, focusing on this. We've got something that's never been created before, at least at this level. And, we got out there and created, another concentrate product, because one of our customers said, "Oh, the smell's a little bit too big in my barn." We treat, some of these homes have barns and animals, and, the smell's a little too heavy in our barn. So I created this, I got together with our team. We created this clove and cottonseed oil product. And it's very, very mild, so much so that, they're using it indoor in hospitals, school districts. It's next level: aircraft, train, rail. I mean, it's got so many different applications for it. And that was our second product. And, that's blossomed to a dust product that you can put in your walls and all the places where voids and, insects crawl, but you don't, that kills them where they're living. And then a granular product for the lawn. And so we've created 4 products that's full solution, both indoors and outdoors, for the professional pest applicator. And now, since that spun and got to where it was going, we knew all along that we we're going to have to create a consumer item.
Right.
So we started that consumer item in 32 ounce and 8 ounce bottles, and we were giving them away to the pest control applicator to give to his customer between services. And that kind of blended into something. All of a sudden, we have this ready to use product. It got real hip. They started ordering it all the time, and they're giving it away, and some are charging for it. Because it's only, $19, extra. So, a lot of customers will opt for that, especially if they're in big properties. So that product's fun, and it's getting a lot of traction. We've got multiple products for the Nature Side brand that are, in development. One is an insecticidal soil product that we developed. We just received the patent on that. And now I'm looking to partner with a large soil manufacturing company to put that out there and get it to be in position. And then we've got all kinds of other things in the background and product development: fly products, hornet products, products for the animals, shampoos. I mean, we're going to go all the way as this thing really evolves.
That's exciting, Matthew. And going further into, when I say the product development side, I don't mean like, the proprietary process. I just mean the theme, like called Nature Side. So is it natural ingredients? Like, give us a feel for, the people that are applying it on the commercial side, like exposure. Like, tell me a little bit more about that side of what the thought process is that goes into developing these products that you're mentioning.
So what started out as helping somebody with snakes turned into an exposure issue. As we started to get traction, we joined this group in social media, and the group was full. It's probably about 20,000 people deep, and all these people are all professionals in the pest control world. It's crazy. There's a lot of them.
That's awesome.
So we started pushing our products out there, and everybody was saying, no. And then finally,
typical entrepreneur, right? Just because you have an idea, you made a product, doesn't mean everybody lines up and says, let me buy it. And this is great. No, continue.
No, nobody wanted to buy it.
Let everybody know they're not alone.
Nobody wanted to buy it. That's the first thing. Nobody. It was nobody's buying. I had a couple of guys that saw some videos that I sent some free product to, and they came back after playing with the product. We're like, we love it. We want to include it. We started selling direct to them because we didn't have any distribution. So, this led to a lot of naysaying, a lot of people, no. And some of the top people in the industry that we were able to identify that were top in the industry, like the guy who owns this group that has 20,000 people, his name is Jerry. He too was like, nah, this is not something that, a professional is not going to use this product. It's just not going to happen. So we developed a real small, product. Instead of giving like a half gallon of product, we developed these little 16 ounce little minis. And we call it the Pro Pack Sampler. And in that Pro Pack Sampler, there's the indoor product, there's the outdoor product, there's a little bit of the dust, and there's a little bit of the granular, enough to try out on 2, maybe 3 homes. And so we started sending these out, and pretty soon I'm getting calls. Hey, I got your product. I wanted to talk about it, and I talk about it. And like a week later, the same guy calls me back and he goes, I'm done. I'm switching over to Nature Side on all my outdoor power spring.
Wow.
And power springs, when you either have a backpack blower on and you're blowing, like it looks like the gardener, except you're blowing a mist out. A lot of guys use those, and a lot of guys have truck mounted. Where it's a big roll on the back of the truck and they roll it out. Well, I got several guys that were, before this thing even got popular, like, look, I've been exposed for 20 years. I'm
Wow.
mixing chemicals in my truck for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm tired of being exposed. I didn't
Yeah.
even tell my customers. I tried it out on my house. I
Yeah.
see how good it works. I know the little intricacies that you have
Mhm.
to adapt to make this product work, because just like anything else,
Yeah.
you get something new, you got to figure out how it works the best.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys jumped in and they found out how it worked the best.
Wow.
And the next thing you know, there's a distributor knocking on my door saying,
Yeah.
hey, we've heard all about this product and we've actually gotten to try it and we want to carry it. So that led
Mm.
to one distributor. Then that distributor merged with another distributor, got us a national footprint. And, and then that led to another distributor, now another distributor. And now I'm working in the UK. I'm working in Australia. I'm working in Mexico. I'm working in Mumbai. I'm working in Singapore. I'm working in so many different places. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
Amazing. I just love the nature side story and the growth, and just to continue to see just what's happening with it. It's an awesome brand to follow. Let's mix in some of the other products here that you have going on. So tell us about another one. I think you said the Thermo, or which other one do you want?
Thermalate. So this is a
Thermalate.
really fun product, and this was also something that was on its way to failure.
Yeah.
We had to figure out how to get through it. And this is where Jennifer comes in. So this product was developed first. It's a hot and cold pack that's different than anything else that's being used in rehabilitation that there is. And it was an accident. My father was very sick. He had multiple strokes, fallen down, and we were using cold packs and hot packs to soothe his pain, because he was just, I didn't want to pump him full of drugs. He didn't want that either. And so we started using these hot and cold packs, like, the gel packs you pull out of the freezer, way too cold for somebody elderly, would never use it.
Yeah.
We finally figured it out by using rice packs. And these rice packs were really good. They didn't last very long, but they worked good. And, after using these products for a while, we noticed, my father had a runny nose, watery eyes, and we were always like, trying to take care of him, trying to figure it out. And he's in a wheelchair, and, a little electric wheelchair. And one day he dropped it and ran it over, and it opened it, and out came black rice. Like it was black, literally black rice. And I'm like, what the heck? And I showed it to the physician at the time, was Dr. Kurtz, who sits on our board. And he's like, oh, it's black mold. Your dad's allergic to this. This is why he's always, I'm like, oh, ding. So we're like, oh, okay. So we started looking for another product that we can use that would last longer, longer than 90 days.
Yeah.
So we found this at a fair. We found these pouches, and they're like, oh, it's corn. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I opened it up. Oh, it is corn. Sewed it back up, started using it. It worked great. And they're like 90 days later. So it was like 90 days almost on the dot. Wow. 90 days later, he starts eyes and nose and everything again. So we're like, okay, let's open it up. So we opened it up, and sure enough, inside each piece of corn, which they were really large, really big pieces of corn, and they were all cracked, and in the cracks was black mold. So we immediately knew it was the same thing. So I was on a mission. So I was reaching out to all the companies that degerminate corn or sell corn. I mean, I was talking to the people who supply Kellogg's, the people that supply, McDonald's, all these different things. I was talking to, all these things. And sure enough, I come home and there's a 50-pound bag of corn on my porch. But it didn't look like any other corn. It was weird looking corn. Like you could tell it was corn, but it was all chopped up. It's like, oh, what is this? So I grabbed on to Jennifer, who's my wife. She's my wife at home, but at the office, she's not my wife. She's brilliant. So at this point, we weren't even really focused on working together at that point. It was like, it's just the early stages of I'm going off on my own. And we sewed up these pouches. I started playing with it. I'm like, wow, these really work well. So I sent 10 of them to, at the time, an investor friend of mine who happened to be a clinical investigator for Merck and Novartis and some of these big, giant firms that, they look for clinical investigation. So we get to this to this juncture, and Dr. Toomey is like, this stuff, this is amazing. Can you make me 40 packs? I'd like to do a study on it. I'm like,
wow.
Well, yeah, let me get with Jennifer. So Jennifer started sewing. I ordered, a few bags of this. Meanwhile, I find out along the way that this is the same corn they use as a cornflake before it gets turned into a cornflake after they've processed it. So, and I immediately put a utility patent on this, and this is what this is. So when a piece of corn, what happens to get to this place is they take the corn off the cob. It goes into water and it soaks for 24 hours. After that 24-hour period, a little tiny piece of corn blows up to the size of a quarter. Yeah. So it's big. Then they come up out of the water, they go into a conveyor belt, and they chop into 4 pieces. And the part that attaches to the cob is called the tip cap. And that gets ejected. It's got an embryo in it, and you can actually grow corn from it. But that gets chipped and thrown to feed for animals. So they're not wasting anything. And then it gets back in the water, and there's 3 more pieces that are out there. And during that float in the water, the top of it, or, when you bite into a piece of corn, it snaps. That's called a bran coat. That bran coat floats off of it, and everything else sinks to the bottom. And they skim it, and then it comes up on a tray, and immediately goes into a kiln, 215 degrees for 14 minutes. Then it goes into the cycle, and they bag it, and they ship it. So what it is, it's a degerminated corn, and it's been processed to only have about a 13% moisture factor. So they don't look alike, but they are identical in their density, which means unlike the rice packs, herb packs, buckwheat packs, all the things you find at the mall, those are just dried out in the field after being picked and then stuffed into a pouch. This was the very first time that a hot and cold pack made from organic materials were put together, and there's no hot spots in it. There's no unevenness. It heats very, 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 very cleanly. And what's really great about it is it actually, Dr. Toomey did a case study on this. And again, this is before we joined forces. He was just an investor friend of mine. And he proved in 96 arthritis patients, a 20% reduction of their arthritis medication in the trial. And 20% and 35% of the patients thought they perceived that they were getting better relief than they were getting from the drugs. So it turned into something pretty quickly. So we packaged it, we did all the right things to it. The product worked great, but we couldn't get any traction. Nobody wanted to buy the product because it was just a hot and cold pack. It wasn't anything special. Couldn't get, we tried to kick down the doors at some of the big distributors, like Merck and Novartis, using, my now partners, contacts. But we couldn't get it open. And then, Jennifer Mills, one of our founders, who's now our president, came up with this, let's put it in a teddy bear. Let's put this in a teddy. I bet you
I love this story. There. It's such a good story. Go ahead.
So that was like, wow, that could work. So we made three different colors of teddy bear: a blue, a blue one, a pink one, and a purple one.
Yeah.
And we started showcasing these at some of the shows, and Costco walked up and said, "Hey, we love this. Can you deliver?" And that was the big thing. Can you deliver? We'll cut you a PO for $1.7 million. We're going to need them to go everywhere. And they were shipping. I mean, it took us, we had all the shells, but stuffing them, it was really, I had like 40 people for 2 months straight, just stuffing and filling and stuffing. And we made the order, Following year, they came back to us and wanted to do it again. And I couldn't accept the order because they wanted to cut our price. And since in that timeline, we launched it, and we went from teddy bears to zoo animals. And now we have a whole line of them. It's the Thermalade Zoo with teddy bears and multiple animals. And we just launched our first mystical animal, which is a unicorn. And we did that because e-commerce, you look at e-commerce and you go and look at the most searched plush toy in the world, and it's a unicorn. So we built a unicorn. It's taken off on us. And now we're working with a company called Cardinal Health, who, we've got enough sell through with them in some of the chains like Kroger and some independents that they've actually gotten together with us and said, okay, let's get you've got about 1,000 stores. Let's start focusing on 750 at a time, get you in 750 more stores. And then we'll go after another 750. We want you to be at our big show this year. So now I'm starting to get on this brand is starting to get the traction we've been looking for a long time as well. So it's pretty neat what's going on with Thermalade. The product is incredible. We have a headache product there too. We put a little cream on your face, on your your forehead and your temples, and you put this ice cold pack that's like, and it's made of terry cloth, so it's not like it's soothing cool. Go sit in a dark place or just go sit on your bed for 15-20 minutes. 95% of the patients that went through this trial saw relief within 15 minutes. So that product's kind of taken off on us as well. So the Thermalade division is definitely going, and then the other one is Malibu Brands, and that's starting to run as well. We just developed this cream product. It's a pain relief cream. Put it on your knee. You put it on your head. You put whatever you've got pain. It's unbelievable with how the product works. And the ingredients in this one is poison ivy essential oil with the rash extract, the rash aspect of the cream extracted. So it's very, very unique. There's not another product out there like it. And it's called the Malibu Brand Specific Pain Relief Cream. That line has a full CBD line behind it. We're not selling it yet. We're waiting for the federal government to really give clear guidance. I know a lot of companies are out there selling CBD and whatnot, but they're not a company that are aspiring to go to the NASDAQ and grow this business into the, we're thinking in 5 years, we're going to have a natural products $1 billion company. That's what I'm aiming for. As you saw, we have $100 million waiting for us in the open markets. So we're preparing our company right now to enter the marketplace.
So speaking of that, I mean, I just have to ask, so like what's next? What's next for you? What's next for MedX? I mean, you got a ton of products in development. So maybe tell us a little bit more about the capital side of things and just tell us what's next.
Well, I went through an accelerator. I started an accelerator in January of 21, and it was called New Chip, and really great group of guys. I was pitching all the investment banking community the wrong way. I didn't have real guidance. We have a great story, but I was sending 20-page decks to everybody, and it takes them, and I'd have a meeting, and the meeting would last 45 minutes, and it's not feasible to really talk to the investment banking community because there's thousands of them in that big frame time. You gotta shrink it down. So they enabled myself. I started in January. I graduated in July. And after graduation, I had created about an 8-page deck. Well, it might have been 10-page deck. And a video that goes with that deck. Instead of me repeating this every time I meet somebody, we would just show them the video. And the video, it would last 8 minutes. So then they decided to forum it, and they put it out on a forum where thousands of people could see it, thousands of investment bankers. So sure enough, I graduated in July. By August, I was engaging with what started out as a $86 million deal for us. I'm somebody who's a forward looker. So I have on my where I wake up in the morning and where I go to my office, I have $100 million check written. And that was my goal. I need to get $100 million for this thing. So I negotiated that $86 million into $100 million. And sure enough, they locked up with us. And, it's a 3-year deal. I have 3 years to start doing drawdowns with them. And I can go to the OTC. I can go to the NASDAQ. I can go to NYC. It doesn't really matter. You can go to the Canadian exchange and go after it that way. They said, as long as you're trading, you can start drawing down this capital. So day one, when we start trading, the deal is pulling down $10 million. And then every time we need it, we can draw down more, as long as they never own more than 10% of the company, which I've got a big plan now. So I've got some stuff I can't talk about. There's a lot going on in the background right now. We're looking to get our company out there fast. And we're working with multiple companies to try and do so.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to make an announcement. But regardless, if I just go out and list on the OTC
Yeah.
straight up, I could start accessing the capital. But we've got a little bit different of a plan to get to the capital, which we'll be revealing over the next 30 to 60 days.
Man, that is so exciting. And I'm excited just to keep on hearing and following the progress of the company and just to see all the things coming ahead, because you're making a difference. And I feel like the universe, like the market, like everything is rewarding you, and it should. And you're creating opportunity, not just for, obviously not just for your employees and everyone else, but, you're creating opportunities for better health for some of the people that are being exposed. I mean, the whole supply chain of what you're doing. I mean, you're just creating a lot of win-win scenarios, and just the overall brand of MedX. I mean, that's what I see at the heart of what you're doing. So first, if somebody is watching this and they want to learn more and to follow the story and the journey, I mean, what's the best way for people to connect and to keep up to date?
Well, we do, we have a website. It's, medx-rx.com. In it, we list every time there's some new media, it'll pop up there. Like this whole thing will be up on there. We have social channel. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got a lot of following there. I've got a lot of things that pop up there.
Yeah.
Of course, Facebook, and then we have our capital raising portal, which we own that. There's a long story behind that too. We were on all the most popular, started with Start Engine, and we ended up walking away from those because they wanted once they got broker dealer licenses, they decided they were going to charge us a lot more money. So we ended up building our own portal, and that portal is medxinvestor.com. You can see the capital that's been raised. You can really read the story. You can see all the videos of our products. You can really understand what's going on. That investment platform is still open. We've raised almost $4 million on this last round, and now trying to move through, shutting it down and going to the public markets to raise capital. And that's our next step. And I feel that step is, regardless of the way we go, we have an easy listing way to go. We can just, file a 15-C211 and go that way.
Yeah.
But I've got something bigger in mind, and that's what we're working on. And we're hoping, again, that we can come out of that quiet area and announce this here shortly.
Fantastic. Well, Matthew, really, it has been a pleasure having you on the show and learning more about your journey and all the great stuff you're doing at MedX, Nature Side, Thermalate. I mean, it's awesome. Malibu Brands. I mean, you have a lot going on, but it's significant, and glad to bring all of that to my audience. And we'll put all those links to the websites and things like that in the show notes, so my audience can just go on, head right on over and just click on the links and go right over to the sites. So again, thank you for that. And to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters, just so you know, we're all about bringing on mission-based entrepreneurs, executives, and experts, and having them really share, like, why do they do what they do? Like, what gets them excited? What gets them motivated? Also, what helped them get through the journey and get to where they're at today? And what does that look like? So if that's the kind of content that you like, if that's like what you want to engage with, definitely hit that subscribe button, because we have many, many more mission-based entrepreneurs and executives coming on the line, and we do not want you to miss a thing. And Matthew, really, it has been a pleasure. Wishing you much more continued success, and I'm excited to watch the journey. So thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure, Adam. And hey, everybody out there, it's hard work, but somebody's got to do it and be ready to fail, and just stay on your horse. Don't get off the horse. You got to keep running.